So I want to start with some thank yous. First of all, the leadership of the Naval Academy and the Foundation for all that you have done to make today possible. To Admiral Greenert, to Admiral Ferguson and the nominating committee, and to my classmate, Rear Admiral Alma Grocki, and the Women's Shared Interest Group for nominating me. It has been the most humbling experience of my life. I commit to being worthy of the selection. To my classmates from the great class of '81, please stand up. So many of my classmates have become like family. Joan Platts, Bill Johnson, probably at the top of that list. You saw pictures of my roommates, Kathy Holt and Mary Kay Copper, who predeceased us so sadly. Other classmates have advocated for me at various points, people like Bill Moran and Wendy Lawrence. I am eternally grateful for all that you've done for me and for your friendship. To my Penn classmates, Stacy and Carla, I am so grateful for your friendship, for being like my much younger sisters, and for the learning we shared in our doctoral program. You guys rock. To Frank's sisters who are here somewhere, it's so wonderful, and you have been so good to me over the years. Thank you for sharing the good and the bad. I'm so excited to share the good with you today. I've had many mentors along the way and want to thank them too. Admiral Tim Keating, I'm pretty sure you've mentored half the fleet because everybody talks about Keating as a mentor, and I thought it was just me. Thank you. You have, I don't know that you remember, but well, you probably remember that I worked for you, but what you may not remember is that you had a ready room full of aviation go-fast detailers, a bunch of helicopter guys, and then this gal who flew C-130s. And I know you knew what a C-130 was, but you, when I came in, there was definitely a picture of which one of these is not like the other. You, by being you, overcame all of that so that I felt like a valued member of the team. I would not be here today without those things. So thank you, Admiral Keating. There are a couple other mentors who have done similar things. You may not know their names, and they weren't able to be here today. But Captain John Kilty was my boss on a couple different occasions. He guided me when I needed it, and he absorbed my feedback with grace. Another boss up at Cyber Command, Lieutenant General John Davis, provided me with wise counsel and absorbed my counsel when I thought he needed it. So they were just tremendous leaders who made sure that I could navigate both the professional and the social side of my wonderful Navy career. To my friends since high school, Pat, Jane, and Andrea, and I think two of you are here, thanks for being such dear friends and for being able to be here tonight. To Brendan, Caroline, and Moises, thank you for supporting me throughout my career, throughout this journey, for your sacrifices, and for keeping me grounded. I love you all. And then there's St. Francis. Yeah, that's my husband, Frank. Yeah, my friends know that he is St. Francis pretty much. Well, you can probably do the math. He is known to the brigade as a physics professor, the Gouge physics professor, as a matter of fact. That's Mr. Klein in the front row. Sorry I couldn't get you out of fifth period. If you had, I tried really hard. He has been the person who made sacrifices while I pursued my dreams, did what I thought I was supposed to do, and for being my life partner through thick and thin and everything in between. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. Each of us on the stage have spent our time since reporting on Induction Day working to fully embrace the principles of this institution. It is a journey. All of us on stage and the members of the brigade understand the importance of character. The Naval Academy has set you on your journey of understanding that character because the demands here have begun to reveal it. Similarly, your education so far has prepared you for the initial demands of our profession. Both will continue to grow and be refined throughout your careers, no matter what path you take. But you've also begun to make lasting relationships here, and that's the area that I'm going to focus on for the next few minutes. Because when you're out in the fleet or the Marine Corps, you're not leading things, you're leading people. The types of relationships that I'm speaking about require nurturing in time. My own exposure to the power of relationships happened when I was a freshly minted lieutenant junior grade. I'd completed flight school and was in my first squadron. Lieutenant Joe Serino from West by God, Virginia, was the person who pulled me over to the side and told me after I had Brendan, he said, "You need to take this job. It's the hardest job. There's no visibility in it, but you need to take this job." And so here I am. While the job put me on a path to success, it was that officer and his willingness to step in and give me unasked for advice, and he made the first difference in my professional life. We still have a relationship decades later. Jim Collins, the author of such books as Good to Great and Built to Last, describes the concept of who luck. Who luck is when you come across someone who changes your trajectory or invests in you, bets on you, gives you guidance and key points. That was my first exposure to mentorship. It would not be my last. Many, I say tongue-in-cheek, in the brigade are familiar with the concept of entanglement from quantum physics. Frank will not give you a quiz on this on Monday, I promise, for the youngsters. Generally, it's the notion that a particle has influence on another particle, even at a great distance. It is the basis for the newest computers, which hold the promise to unlock solutions that current computers can't solve. This principle of influence, this entanglement, holds in relationships as well. Once you have an exemplar, the influence can have far-reaching impacts. Keating, that's what you did. You were an exemplar. And it's why it's important to select, to make a positive choice about who influences you. In my last role in uniform, our team looked at the causes of ethical lapses of some of our senior leaders. Two things stood out. One was that sometimes leaders who isolate themselves are really vulnerable. The second was that once the lapse was made public, there were inevitably those who would say, "Hey, I saw that coming since he was a lieutenant." Mother Teresa would tell you, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. When I was a midshipman, Vietnam-era POWs would come onto the yard and discuss their experiences and how the Academy had prepared them to be prisoners of war. Admiral James Stockdale was one of those most vocal about his experiences, and today we collectively study him as an exemplar of character, which he most certainly was. But he also put character into context. He said, "Our very fiber and sinew were the only weapons at our disposal. Each man's values from his own private sources provided the strength, enabling him to maintain his sense of purpose and dedication. They placed unity over self, and you may be asked to do the same." They needed unity to survive, and there was an ethic that they built among themselves, where character is for an individual and ethic is the collective character of a community. Ancient theologians would talk about the idea of the mystery of the moon to express how a barren object could become a source of beauty. And the solution was that it reflected something larger. We are not completely the source of our character, but are a revelation of our relationship with others. And our profession is a covenant to each other and to the nation as well as to the future. Select your relationships not for what you believe they can do for you, but for what they reflect in you. What you will find when all is said and done is that your relationships are the source and the summit of your success. I am grateful for relationships with leaders also of the next generation. Vice Admirals Sarah Joyner and John Fuller, it was lovely working for you. We turn the baton to you. Captain Corey Howes, you too get to take the baton. And then former brigade commanders from my time as commandant, Commander Sam Rikashevsky and Major Serban Singleton, and soon, Midshipman First Class Morgan Pigmore, you all will have the opportunity to leave. You reflect my hope for the future. What will your relationships reflect about you? Beat Army.